This is the final dream that I had about Jesus on the night of September 20th, 2024, the evening before my birthday. I had fallen asleep that evening with no particular expectation, no big plans for my birthday the next day, and at some point in the night I became aware of the ocean sounds and the warmth of the sun on me. This may have been what woke me up out of my previous dream. It had changed my awareness of the dream space, and I opened my eyes, and I recognized where I was. It was the same beach from a previous dream. I looked around and I watched as Jesus came over the dune from the ocean side, and I waited as he approached. It had been about 2 weeks since my last dream of him. He was the same as before. We stood a moment as I looked into the sky and let the sun bathe over me. I could have stayed in this moment. And I was just taking all of this in, and he said, "We are going to discuss the nature of healing." And my mind reflected on the first dream. He had asked me in that dream if I was a healer. I turned my attention back to him, and at that moment we were no longer on the beach. I don't know where we were, but I could see my bedroom at sort of a distance. It was nighttime. Had to be sometime after midnight because of the location of the moon as it shone into my bedroom window. It cast a faint moon glow over my furniture. Something also shifted in the quality of the dream. The ocean dream was lighter, more like a conventional dream state. This scene above my room, or parallel to my room, was more like a solid state. I felt almost like myself as a person, solid, yet at the same time, and it's difficult to describe, I was simultaneously asleep and awake, both at once. He then began to talk about the practice of healing. He said that Reiki is a lot like what he does. He was validating the practice and not distancing himself from it. We are energetic beings, electromagnetic, charged. We have an ionic function. He described how the energy can be drawn into the body through the left hand. It then moves across the heart center and travels through the right side into the right hand. I saw him spread his hands out from his side, palms up, and I thought about the paintings where he is doing exactly that. I asked if that is why he appears in pictures with his arms outstretched, palms up, and he said yes. I didn't ask further questions about it. I was staring at him and I was reflecting in my mind a painting that I had once seen of Jesus with his hands outstretched. I think it was at the Vatican. He continued speaking to me, explaining that there is a formula for healing preparation. The self is powered by soul energy, but not soul knowledge. I didn't know what that meant exactly, and he explained, and I did try to remember what he said so that I could apply this to my own skill set, that your consciousness and life force are fueled by your soul's spiritual essence, but your mind is inherently empty of cosmic omniscience. You are meant to build knowledge through lived experience. It doesn't download automatically. The soul is all good, it's all knowing, and the energy is inherently good. The journey is to tap the soul knowledge, not only tap it, but utilize it. Energy naturally pours into the vessel. That is us. That is its nature. But there is a lid of sorts, a lid for lack of a better word. It is located at the throat, just below the mouth, up into the neck. It appears closed by default. The lid must be consciously opened before energy can channel from the crown down into the vessel. The tighter the lid, the less soul information available. This potential exists in all of us. The limitation is recognition to it, not lack of access. You consciously open the lid at the throat and you consciously draw energy down from the crown through the body into a central vessel with different energy frequencies running through it. From the crown down into the earth, this cleans the vessel. This can be visualized or spoken through. Either works. The goal is to clear the debris from the core vessel, the energy tube. Once cleared, energy concentrates at the heart center, the primary healing focal point, and it seemed that holding the hands out, palms up after clearing, charges the field within. Energy enters through the left hand and crosses into the heart center and travels down into the right hand. From there, it has multiple possibilities. It can arc back on itself, it can be sent out into the field, and it can be directed toward another person for healing. And I watched as he displayed the position with his hands outstretched, and I asked, "How did the artist who painted you know to depict you with your hands outstretched?" And he said, "Connection and communication through the divine, like automatic writing, like singing, and other gifts." He said that the artists that painted him, artists who paint him, can channel his energy. It comes through as clues, as knowing without knowing how you know. And I thought back to the first dream I had about him, that saying his name does in fact summon the vibration frequency of him. An intention to paint him must draw that same frequency. The teaching felt very much like the cross, a vertical axis from the crown to the earth. the horizontal axis from the left hand across the heart and into the right hand. And he also pointed out that soul energy can be misused, sometimes even unwillingly, and he explained that as well. How we can turn this energy on ourselves by operating from a closed space. We can turn it on ourselves and others. If you focus intense mental concentration on negative thoughts, relentless self criticism, or suppressed trauma, I saw how sometimes autoimmune disorders can manifest. He offered this practical compass. What would Jesus do will serve you a lot better than what your own intentions would be when you are confronted with conflicting thoughts. This redirects your focus toward humility and compassion. Compassion for yourself, compassion for others. Love for self is healing. And he wanted to demonstrate what he had just taught me. He brought up the problem I was having with my right knee. So this was my birthday, the early morning hours on September the 21st, and I'd had a knee injury since the first week of May, nearly 5 months prior. I'd injured my knee hauling concrete bags from the garage to my backyard. I was building a retaining wall, and I'd lifted 80 pounds of concrete and pivoted with it. I felt my knee immediately pop, and within moments it felt like a red-hot poker had been driven through my knee. There was no easing of the pain. I went through 5 months of this and wanted to hold off from having surgery as long as I could through rehab and injections. The next step was surgery, which I had been avoiding. I'd been getting around with a knee scooter and a brace. So in demonstrating the lesson on healing, he asked me to place my palms on either side of my knee. He placed his hands over mine, and I could feel an energy flow, left hand across the heart to the right hand. It felt like a circuit was created, and I felt in that moment complete and absolute love, connection to everything, to Jesus, to the divine, and back again. Pure and simple. That is how I came to understand that love is the healing frequency. It isn't a concept, but a felt experience known through my hands. He told me that he had healed my knee, but reminded me that I could re injure it if I wasn't careful. And then he laughed and he said, I can only do so much. He demonstrated the healing process, but it did not occur to me that the healing would carry into waking, and he started to fade away as I came back into my room. I came out of the dream state and woke up, and Jesus was gone. As I was getting out of bed, I was replaying the dream in my head. And so I woke up and I began the daily ritual that I had had over the past 5 months. I lifted my leg with my hands to swing over the side of the bed, and there was no pain. That was usually a very painful motion as I would reach for my brace that stayed by the bed. And no pain. I flexed and extended my knee. No pain. Stood up. Still no pain. Took a step without my brace. No pain. And then the tears came, and I wanted to call Jesus back, but I was awake and he was gone. I got dressed and went to my son's house to show him. I needed a witness. On Monday, I asked my coworkers if they noticed anything different. I wasn't limping or dragging my backpack on a wheel carrier because it was too painful to carry that added weight. I told one of the physicians that I worked with about the dream I had, that Jesus healed my knee, and I was telling everybody, if I had downplayed any relationship that I had with Jesus in the past, those days were over. My coworker then told me that we had something in common, that Jesus had appeared to him in a dream years ago and had saved him, and he relayed a very personal account of his experience. He knew that my experience was real. And as for me, my next step was going to be surgery, and I didn't need it. To this day, my knee has been great, and I run 3 miles about 4 times a week. I've taken these 2 years to develop a system based on the teachings from Jesus, and I am certified in Reiki, and I use the Reiki symbols to help ground me, but I created a ritual that I perform based on the lessons from him. I am also incorporating craniosacral therapy into the practice. And the physician that I worked with, the one I relayed the dream to, also uses Reiki and craniosacral frequency to heal. I think we felt a common bond by our experiences. And that was the last dream in the series of 7 that I had about Jesus. I still feel his presence and the presence of spirit guides and other soul connections, especially through prayer and meditation. But I've not had another real-time dream encounter with Jesus since my birthday nearly 2 years ago. And it took me 2 years to come forward with this because I've been spending time in practice of this teaching so that I can be the most effective healer that I can be. But I also have to be careful because I hold a medical license and I have to work within the scope of practice, which is science-based medicine. So in order to use this Jesus frequency, I return to this channel and I use it to send healing energy into the field. I send the frequency to all of you, anyone out there that finds this channel, and I appreciate all of you, and I send love out into the field to all of you using the concept that I learned. And as I said, I'm not here for content. I'm here to send love and healing, and I'm here to keep this frequency open. Until next time, Take care of yourselves and each other. And this is Jessica.